Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning into the video and sending in your questions. I asked a few of my followers on Instagram to send me any questions that they had on illustration or art or my illustration style or anything like that. And I just wanted to thank everyone that did send in a question. It meant a lot to me. So I'm just going to start by just starting off with the questions. The first question is, how did you develop your own style in illustration? And to be honest, I have been illustrating since February 2018. So it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it's been a while. And my first kind of point of how I started was to do it kind of incessantly every single day, make it a habit, make it a ritual. For me, I kind of became a little bit obsessive towards it, that I had to do it every single day. And also having someone with you, like a friend that's interested in art and illustration as well, to kind of push you and when you go to the gym and you have someone else there with you, it kind of motivates you to keep going. Secondly, a way that I developed my style was that I worked with different mediums at the same time. And basically, for example, when I started painting with gouache, I was able to transfer the fluidity and the abstractness to my illustrations, and merging those two things together gave it a completely different form. And lastly, really paying attention to your doodles and the way that you create naturally. Because when you doodle, that's basically your body's way of mimicking the environment. It's your body's natural way of creating. And really paying attention to that and not taking that intuition for granted really allows you to develop further. For example, if you go through my Instagram and you go like back a year ago, you'll see a very different style as what I have now. But that only happened because I was able to have that style in the first place. And if you really pay attention, you'll realize that my style now is actually heavily built upon my style at the time. The next question is, where do you get your inspiration for your art? Specifically, I get it from my environment and my experience with the way that I interact with the world and the people around me and my friends and my family, and how they react to their environment. And something else that's a huge inspiration to me is my focus on looking at the way that Arab women and Arab girls react in their environment and how their lives are, and every aspect to do with that and the problems that they face on a daily basis or on a regular basis. I mainly see that in mainstream media, that experience, the Arab girl experience, isn't really heavily seen. And so I like to kind of show that more often. And specifically women in the GCC, I rarely, if ever, actually see that experience in specific. The next question is, do you ever directly draw with markers or paint without pencil sketches first? This is actually what I do most of the time. Specifically with painting, I rarely, if ever, use pencil sketches to paint, because I really want that fluidity and that abstraction to kind of show through the work. The only time I really do use pencil sketches is if I'm making something very specific and I want that specific experience to be showcased in the work, or if it's a commission, like from a client or a portrait commission or anything like that. The next question is, have you ever started an illustration without knowing the idea of it or how you're going to finish it? A lot of the time, this is how I do work, unless, like I said, it's a very specific commission that I have to have a distinguished idea for. But for my own personal works that a lot of the time I post on Instagram or my paintings, I rarely, if ever, have an idea of how it's going to look like. I try my best to let it be fluid and to let the illustration kind of build on itself, and really pay attention to my intuition and to that little voice that tells you when an illustration is over or when it's not, or when it needs more. Anyway, thank you so much for, again, tuning in and for sending in your questions. I had a lot of fun making this video, and I really hope that I can make more. Thanks again. Bye.